Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Dell U2413. This is the successor to the 2410, arguably one of the best monitors ever made, specifically in the 24-inch class. So what you're about to see is a 1200p 24-inch panel, of course IPS-based, that is still 16 by 10, something that we don't see a lot of anymore, and in terms of color accuracy is about as good as it gets. So the 2413, not for everyone. This isn't a gaming monitor. It can game. I'll be reporting on it as I use it, of course, and it will be replacing 2410s that I have that really are, as I mentioned before, essentially the industry standard since they were launched in 2009. Now, the 2413 that we're about to look at has been on the market for roughly a year, originally priced much higher than it is now. Currently, it retails for $550. Dell has it on sale for $480, I believe. Keep in mind that just about anything Dell, the 2413 we're going to look at here included, is always on sale in one form or another, and there are always coupons and ways to actually get the price lower. So keep that in mind. This applies not only to Dell monitors, but also to just about anything they sell, but more specifically their PCs. So with that out of the way, let me start to essentially deconstruct this box. And I'm excited to get it because, there's a lot of people that question the veracity of being able to actually replace something like the 2410. The 2410 really was in a league of its own, and especially if you were in the market for a 24-inch panel that was as accurate when it came to colors as possible. Now, it looks like the seal is already a little bit broken, so may not need the scissors after all. And you can see already the calibration report right here. Let me take a peek at this. And basically it just gives you, your serial number and the tests that Dell performed in order to ensure that everything is actually calibrated. And you can see right there, the Adobe RGB as well as sRGB, grayscale tracking, and gamma. So this is part of the entire brand. It picks up where the 2410 left off, and a lot of people, have mixed feelings about this monitor with regard to it being able to replace the 2410. It does have less aggressive filtering, anti-reflective coating, which is yet another thing it's known for, and that was a big complaint with the 2410. Personally, I didn't think it was an issue. I may actually have to flip this entire box around. We've got our included software and documentation disc, and keep in mind this comes, of course, with a stand that gives a pretty good range of motion. You also get one of the best 3-year warranties in the business, which is really why I highly recommend Dell's Ultrasharp brand in general. Let me go ahead and flip the box over. That looks like it's going to be the best way to do this. And it really, again, does represent the best offering that you can possibly get in the 24-inch class. Now, if you're not, fixed on the 24-inch class, then there are a lot of other models, but I do still think that Dell is one of the best manufacturers out there, even though most panels these days do come from the exact same place, no matter which manufacturer you tend to favor. And let's see if I can just slide this out now. There we go. A little bit of a thud, but seamless enough. And there it is. Get this box out of the way. Now, personally, the reason I've gone with 24-inch panels is because I have multiple ones. I have a multi-panel setup. It's not necessarily the perfect option for everyone, but I do think it hits a sweet spot also in terms of pixel density and really what most of the world uses in terms of resolution standards still today. Let's get the stand out first. Actually remove the bottom here. Let's see. Let me just take the panel out altogether. Looks like that's where I'm headed, is that we'll just go straight to the panel, and then I'll get to the balance of the contents of the box. It does come with some included cables as well, which is not surprising considering this is, again, Dell's top-of-the-line monitor in the 24-inch space. All right, flip this over. And you can see right there on the left-hand side, we've got two USB 3.0 ports as well as an SD card reader. Actually, I should say not an SD card reader, it's a card reader in general. I think it has 9 different inputs or types of cards it can accept, I should say. And in terms of other things, the power button's on the other side, but I'll continue to just show off the bezel. The entire panel weighs about 12 pounds and change, I'm pretty sure. With the stand, you're looking at closer to around, I think it's closer to 18, but don't quote me on that. I just received it today. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other side. Nothing on the right side. The power buttons are right here under the tape, which you'll see in a moment. In terms of the back, let me go ahead and flip it around. Be careful with this thing. And you can see we've got our VESA mount right there and already ready to go. So in my case, no need to actually set this up with the stand. And then all of our ports are right here at the back, easily accessible. This monitor, by the way, is considerably slimmer than the 2410. In terms of inputs, you can see we've got 2 more, I believe, USB 3.0 ports on the far right, a USB host port there for the USB 3.0 hub functionality. We then have DisplayPort, HDMI, DVI, a micro or a mini, DisplayPort, yet another DisplayPort for daisy chaining these monitors, another feature that the 2410 lacked, and that was just a matter of its age. Audio output for speakers. Dell does sell a sound bar, much like they did for the 2410. And then we've also got our power input right there, because the power supply is built into this monitor. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take off the tape finally. And I'll actually flip this around. And even though those upgrades may seem insignificant at face value, if the panel lives up to the 2410's performance, then it's a tremendous upgrade. So that's what makes this monitor interesting. Not a lot of coverage of it online. I think that's in large part to do with the fact that, quite frankly, monitors just don't sell the way they used to. Most people buy laptops these days, and whether or not they actually even require a larger screen to look at home is a matter of personal preference. Having a little trouble there with the tape, but there we go, finally. And there we have it. Pretty clean looking, industrial design, you know, very similar to what the 2410 looked like, but just a little bit slimmer. The bezel also has a slightly different finish, and as I mentioned, the anti-reflective coating is also supposed to be far less aggressive. So less grainy, essentially, is what that equates to if you're trying to figure out what I'm actually talking about. The power button right here on the right side, and then touchscreen buttons like most Dell monitors, but specifically like the older 2410 that this replaces. Let's see what else we've got in the box here. We've got a DVI cable. Of course, that is one of the many inputs. We've also got our USB host cable right here. I believe that's what this is. That's what it certainly looks like. The power plug goes to your wall. Supply power to the panel. And then lastly, a micro DisplayPort cable. So if you want to hook this up to any of your mobile devices that have DisplayPort out, I believe that's what that is. So also good to have out of the box. And that looks like it's it in terms of cables. The other element here is the stand itself, which I'm going to bring around and get out of Dell's cardboard fortress that they've built for it. I'm not going to attach the stand right now, but essentially it looks like it's the only real downgrade from the 2410. The 2410 did have a relatively substantial stand, and this one just seems to be in line more with what these stands look like on their lower end panels, but I could be wrong. And here it is finally. I just unwrapped it. not going to drop it on the screen, but I will use the screen as our backdrop. And there you can see the mount, base, relatively light, probably about 5 or 6 pounds, combination of predominantly plastics, polycarbonates, and then some metal clearly involved. It has the ability to rotate, so you have that versatility. And then in terms of the degree of motion, this does move, but not that much. You're pretty limited. So, you know, it's basically a good stand, I would say stock, better than most, but that's something Dell has always done. You know, if you go with a less expensive manufacturer when it comes to displays, you tend to get stands that match, even if they use great panels. So there's the stand. I'm going to go ahead and put that aside. And I believe that is everything. Check the rest of the packaging here. But it looks like that is it. So there you have it, the Dell 2413. Again, this is the replacement to the 2410, a monitor that's been, in my opinion, one of the best performers since its launch back in 2009. Of course, once they got the revision straight, and that's another thing I'll be looking at here, what revision I have of this monitor, you know, essentially that equates to when it was manufactured, and that generally tells you what problems or good things you may be getting out of the batch that Dell manufactured. But overall, excited to finally share this with all of you, and I think this is a monitor that definitely deserves more attention with that 99% coverage of the Adobe spectrum. So if you're a photographer, graphic design, artist, whatever it may be, if you have color sensitive work and need what's on screen to be exactly right, this is the sort of monitor that you want to pick up. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.